Hey guys, as we jump into our weekly Devo, I want to challenge you to spend some time this week really praying over what's happening in our world. You know, for us, it's easy to get focused on how this affects us, but really I want you this week to think about countries who were already in poverty. Think about those countries who were already experiencing a famine. Pray for those people. Spend some time this week doing that. Also, check out Gospel for Asia. Check out their website. One day when we finally get back together, we're going to spend some time talking about some very tangible ways we can actually help people on the other side of the world. But for now, just go check out their website, gfa.org. You know, over the past few weeks, we've been looking at our modern worship songs and talking about whether or not these songs are based on biblical truth. The Bible is our source of truth. That's where we go when we need to understand real truth. Today I want to talk about the song Reckless Love. I've probably sung that song at least 100 times since it was released a few years ago. The question I want you to really think about right now is God's love really reckless? Now, obviously, you could use a million different ways and a million different words to describe God's love to someone, but that word, reckless, what do we think about that word? Just for a minute, listen to the chorus just to remind you how the song goes. So is reckless a good description? Now you can answer that for yourself, but my answer to that question is, it depends. It depends on how you define that word. When I hear that word in normal conversation, the first thing I think about is honestly reckless driving. Now, this isn't confession time for me, but there was a time in my past when I had a conversation with a nice police officer who used the word reckless. That was the topic, you know? And in that context, reckless is not necessarily a good thing. In that context, reckless is against the law. It's dangerous. Reckless can hurt people. You would never want to be described as reckless in a lot of different contexts. But just like a lot of words, they kind of change meaning depending on what context you use them in. So in the context of this song, what do you think reckless means? Well, here's what I think. Since it's a song, I'm just going to offer you guys a suggestion on how to interpret this. It isn't God's word, so we can handle it a little bit different. So let's talk about God's love for just a minute and put it in terms of things that might be confusing or at least don't make sense from the world's perspective. And so let me give you two examples. Number one, God sent His one and only Son as a sacrifice for all sin of all people of all time. We read about that in John 3:16. From an outsider's perspective, that might not make a lot of sense. Couldn't God have thought of a different way to do that? Well, the answer is no. I mean, sin brings death, and so it's a life-for-life transaction. Number two, there's a line in the song about leaving the 99. And that's a reference to Luke chapter 15, where a shepherd actually leaves the 99 sheep who are safe, who are in the safety of the shepherd's care, but he goes after the one who's lost. God pursues us like that. When we're lost, he comes after us and he reveals his love to us. And that may seem reckless or might not make sense to the rest of the world. Now, there's a lot of other examples of this, but since our time is limited, I'll just leave you with those two. So it's not that God himself is reckless in the way he operates. It's really about how God's love doesn't always make sense to people who haven't truly experienced his love and grace. We all need to keep that in mind as we talk to lost people. Even in the context of that story in Luke 15, there are people who are actually mad at Jesus for eating with sinners. They probably would describe him as reckless in that setting, but it's just because they don't understand what he's doing. But we understand that Jesus came to seek and to save the lost. And so as you guys interact with your friends, I want you to remember that. People who haven't truly experienced God's love and grace and haven't truly given their lives to him, they will not understand it. He came to rescue the lost, and the fact that he leaves the 99 to go get the one means he goes to great lengths to rescue the lost. Students, just remember, choosing to give your life to Jesus, it's just that. It's a choice. It's a choice that you have to make for yourself. No one else in this world can make that choice for you. And if you guys have questions about that, please send me a DM so we can start talking about that. Guys, I hope that you have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time.